everyone. Thank you for watching another episode of Pawsitive Voices. Today, I'm here with Jennifer from Lucky Puppy. And Jennifer, can you please tell us a little bit about your role at Lucky Puppy and how you got started?
Sure, I'd love to. So, Lucky Puppy was started 20 years ago by Debbie Hofstetler over in Lakeland, Florida. And she does an amazing job, but I kind of fell into this situation purely by chance. Several years ago, I was visiting Lakeland. I needed a place to wash my dog, and Lucky Puppy, you can Google it, Lucky Puppy Pop for that. And I was intrigued not because they had baths, but because they had all of these hundreds of five-star reviews. And so in my head, I go, wow, who's doing dog nails and gets hundreds of five-star reviews? So of course I'm like, I got to go check this out. So I did. I was really kind of stealthy. I washed my dog, and the bath stations were great, but the whole time I'm like looking around and peeking over, and I walked out of there thinking that was just a really cool experience. And all these dogs were coming and going. Everybody was happy. Nobody was barking. People were working. Dogs were getting their nails done. And I was truthfully amazed, because for most of us that pay attention to dog nails, it's because somewhere in our repertoire of dog life, we've had that dog, right? That dog that would rather run or eat you or just hide in the corner than let you work on their nails. So I too had that dog. So it was completely intrigued. After stalking Lucky Puppy for a couple of years, I approached Debbie, asked her some information, and toured her shop, and then asked her if she would be interested in franchising. And she said, well, why don't you just partner with me and we'll grow it? And that seemed like a great endeavor for me. I've been involved with dogs all of my life. So here we are, almost not quite 2 years later, in our second location with a pretty strong mobile presence, and loving every minute of it.
Awesome. Yeah, I get what you mean about walking in and just seeing the experience and like we've I've gone in there a couple times to talk to Debbie or the Lakeland location, and I love the layout and the flow and how everything moves so well. And there's a lot of parts when you're a pet owner, you don't realize how many parts to the wheel there are that's going. There's everything's in motion just so that dogs aren't interacting with each other if they don't have to. And I love the thought process behind all the steps that you guys take to make sure that the whole experience is wonderful for the pets and the owners. So,
Yeah, thank you for that. We work really hard, and there's a lot of undercurrent activity that goes on our part to make that experience just uh, seamless, really. I mean, everybody's stressed out enough. We don't need to add to that. But you need to come and visit us in Brandon too, and see our little shop over here. So,
yes, I would love to come check out the Brandon location.
yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And let's see. So, what would you say has been the most rewarding thing about your managing your location so far?
So it's interesting when you do a second location, right? We had some clientele from over here because we knew they were here, they were commuting to Lakeland. So we knew we had a kind of a standing base on which to build. But I'm finding that it is still important, because we're such a niche, to educate folks about our existence. That's one of our first challenges, is really letting people know that we're here.
Right. Yeah, well, it's funny that you mentioned that because so to move into kind of like the marketing part of the conversation, when you're like when you've done things locally or digitally, have you noticed certain things that you're doing as far as like marketing the brand and Plant City area for you guys' location? Do you do mostly local or digital?
So mostly digital and social media aspect. What we also do is we work really closely with groomers and vets in our local area, that we literally kind of boots on the door. So we're walking in with our information and our marketing materials, and explaining to whomever we meet at the front end, that's your first gate, right? What we're doing. And interestingly enough, many, not all, but many are aware of our presence. So I give them information. We also make the offer to these businesses, to these vets and groomers that were willing to come in and kind of do a lunch and learn, if you will. So we bring lunch, we bring our mobile, we have a van set up that looks just like one of the rooms in any of our Lucky Puppy shops. And we offer to feed staff and share. They get to bring the dog that they think we can't do. And they get to watch while we show them what our procedures are. So that's been really helpful to us in really going in and showing them exactly what we do. But a lot of our referral for those dogs that have struggled are coming from groomers and vets. So we look at them as not competition, but rather working with them to help change the world one dog at a time. Like, if you can't do it, maybe we can. So give us a chance.
Yeah, that's I love that you say that. And I think that's super smart that you guys are, we all say comrades over competition kind of. It's like there's so many animals and no one niche is gonna take everything. Like we all have to help each other out. So
Exactly.
yeah, that's awesome. The networking is really good too. So
Yeah, the networking is important, and then we get to know our customers pretty well. I mean, as many of them we're seeing on a fairly regular basis. So we also kind of have that Tony Hsieh sort of style of using our existing customers to help share our information. Because if you're struggling with a dog and the groomers have fired you and the vet has fired you, people are kind of reluctant coming in, and they're like, well, what do you do that everybody else doesn't? So it's an educational process. And one of our strongest points of leads is really coming from the friend or the acquaintance or the person that said, yeah, I had that dog too, and they really were able to help us. And those kind of referrals are paramount to what we're doing, because it really is hard if you're struggling and you really have been fired by a number of venues that have not been successful. It's hard to be willing to give people another shot. And so we spend a lot of time on the phone talking to them about what our process looks like and what sets us apart and why we're successful.
I love that. I love that you kind of help educate everyone on like, because like you said, it's like it's really discouraging sometimes for pet parents when they're just wanting to get their pets' nails done and get they don't want to be stressed doing it. They don't want the pet stressed. And you guys do a great job with making it such a comfortable environment. And I was actually pleasantly surprised. I know in a conversation with Debbie, she mentioned that it's not just dogs. You guys sometimes do cats or reptiles. And I was like, wow, you guys really do nails for everybody. So that's awesome.
Yeah, we had a couple bunnies in over the weekend. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I know I'm a pet owner, of course, and I know the nails is like the worst thing. You get those clippers out and the dog looks at you like, don't touch me.
Right, right. Easily.
Yeah.
You're not like, no, we're not going there.
Right. So it's like, knowing that we can take them to you guys and make it a great experience for everybody is just awesome. With Aussie Mom Pet Sitting, our pet business, we tell people all the time, all of our clients they're like, do you know anybody that does nails? And we're like, go to Lucky Puppy. It's like I would prefer that they just start there before they go through everything else because it's just going to save them so much time and stress. So
Thank you. We really appreciate that support. And see, and that's exactly what we're talking about. You guys have experience. You speak to it from a very specific point, that point of experience. And you really can't beat those kind of referrals.
yeah, the word of mouth is everything in our industry. You can promote yourself digitally all over if you want to and spend all the money you want. And those word of mouth is what means the most because they're like, wow, especially if, say, I know somebody that has a difficult pet when it comes to nails, and I know they had an amazing experiment, or experience, um, then I'm more likely to go there knowing, wow, they did their dog. Okay, maybe I'll give it a chance. So we tell our clients like this is going to be a great process for both of you. It makes nails much less stressful. So
That's great.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we use the digital side just to build awareness, right? So that's the part that makes people aware that we exist. And then I feel like many of them then explore and look for referrals once they know that we're here. And sometimes it takes people a little while to get comfortable because the stress levels are super high if you've been struggling for a while, and we want them to be comfortable. So yeah, so we do a little bit of both. The social media marketing is an important aspect for just awareness building.
Right. Okay. And then do you guys go to like local pet events or
We do. We work a lot with rescues, and that's probably one of our biggest outgoes and outreaches. We actually this weekend will be at a vet in Plant City working on. They're doing an open house. We're going in, and they asked us to come, so we're going to be there. We've we go into some of the local shelters and rescues on a regular basis. When they need some help, we'll go in and spend several hours working on whatever they can throw at us in terms of animal wise that needs help. And we're always willing to have rescues reach out when they have special cases that they need help with, and we see that a lot. I've talked to um, Community Pet Project, PRC, McNeely Family Rescue. So yeah, we do a number of things. We've done some other outreach and um, kind of market events. We've done some pop-ups there, and then our mobile goes out into the community on a regular basis. We're in St. Pete once a month. We're down in Ybor City once a month, and we're down in Riverview once a month right now.
nice? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's I love that you guys give back and help the rescues and stuff like that. And bless the rescues. They do a lot of work to try and help the community and it's nice
right.
when they can get help too.
Exactly. It really is a big community, and I think if all of us just are able to do our part, do what we do it really well, and weigh in when they need help, I think it just makes us all better.
Yes, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, it's great.
So let's see. So I know that we kind of talked about like Lucky Puppy is a very niche service. How do you guys make sure that you stand out and that how do you set yourself apart so that people know like what you do as opposed to a vet or a groomer?
And I think that's the challenge for us, truthfully, because they expect us to do what everyone else has done. And we really, I mean, Debbie, when she started this endeavor 20 years ago, set out to make it different so that it was successful. So this is 20 years of refining the equipment that they use, the hammocks that we use, the procedures that we go for handling. We spend a lot of time with new employees teaching just handling procedures, just how to make not only the dog comfortable, also the client comfortable. So there's a lot of pieces that go into our project that are very specific, and we we work on each one of those pieces until we've refined it into a lovely process, and then we execute that consistently. And the interesting thing is with those dogs that struggle, because we take notes, we know what the dog likes, what treat he likes, whether he likes to be held closely or not touched at all. Those are all things that we keep track of, those details, so we make it custom for each client, four-legged client that we see. And we also keep notes on the owners on what works for them and whether they need help getting dogs in or out of the car. So every appointment is a custom appointment, and all of our appointments are by appointment because we've worked so diligently to make that whole process easy from the very beginning, even if they step out of the car and we need to go out and meet them and help them, until the minute they leave the door, and just making sure we've answered their questions. So I think we invest a lot of time with relationships and building relationships, not only with the humans, but also with the dogs. And that's when it comes to pay off in the long run.
Yeah, and I love how you mentioned that you guys take notes and stuff on the client and the pets, and that kind of I know a lot of people in the marketing side of running a pet industry business wonder if a CRM, like a customer relationship management software, is worth the money and things like that. are where it's like it is worth the money. It's you're going to make your experience personable and personalized to every pet and every owner because you can keep those notes. You can keep, hey, last time they came, it took two people. Last time it took one. The owner, the dog has allergies to peanut butter, so we do this instead. That is where you guys take the extra step and take those notes, and every pet has a different experience because it's specific to their needs. So I love that you mentioned like kind of the CRM aspect of it. I know it's hard. A lot of the audience for Positive Results is entrepreneurs that are trying to get into the pet industry or are just starting out or trying to grow. And it's hard when you're starting out and that budget is not where you want it to be, but you try to decide what to use. And I would say a CRM is very important no matter what side of the industry you're in. So.
Yeah, I would completely agree. We actually run two different ones. Lakeland runs one different than what we run in Brandon. We tend to be the test dummies over here because we're a little bit smaller and maybe slightly more nimble. We're running one right now that's okay. I think ultimately somewhere down the line we'll look at a custom one because we're a little different. I mean, there will be appointments that we'll have three, four, five technicians perhaps with a dog. And so booking it isn't quite as straightforward from our standpoint as maybe a typical groom situation. I mean, there's probably complexities there too that I'm not aware of, but ours are so in depth and time wise has more to do with dog size and past dog experience. And so each appointment is custom. And yeah, I think a CRM allows you to not only keep notes, but also so many of them, ours here, we can have discussion with our clients through chat modes and things like that, which we find extremely helpful because we're finding that a good majority of our customers are much more willing to text when they need help or changes or whatever. And we're able to respond maybe more quickly than playing phone tag with people. So that's been super helpful. But yes, I completely agree with you. A good CRM or any CRM that you can vet and get started with, I think is a huge advantage going in.
Awesome. Okay, so then, and I know you mentioned that you guys educate everybody when they come in on from handling all the way through the entire process. What would you say your staff, do they have a part in the marketing of your business and making sure that your customers know what's going on and stay happy?
Absolutely. So we empower our staff to make the decisions that they deem is in the best interest of everyone at that moment. We don't ever want anyone to have to go ask the boss, right? Make a good decision, treat them the way you want to be treated, answer the question. If you're really stuck, absolutely go for help. But for the most part, our staff knows that um, resolve the issue, resolve it right then, make make the adjustments where you need to be because we are a service business, right? And if we can't provide that service, then we need to reevaluate what we're doing. And we all learn from those lessons, but our team is really good about connecting with our customers and remembering things, and sometimes we'll even put those notes, such and such had a baby, or there was a problem, or somebody was sick. Those are the kind of things that we connect with about because we're all just trying to do our part and get through our daily operations without too much. So we connect a lot, but the staff is empowered to do what they need to do to make the situation work.
That's so nice. And it is because a lot of people think of marketing as like that digital or that local, reach out. But a lot of the marketing is that face-to-face interaction between the employees and the owners while the whole experience is happening. So that's kind of why I wanted to ask that. I know, it's really easy for a customer to come in and be frazzled and for them to take a step back and just kind of talk to them and it build up that customer relationship that's going to be what keeps them coming back too. So,
Exactly. And those relationships, I mean, that first visit is a tough visit. It's a tough visit because there's expectations, there's anxiety. And so we want everybody to come in and just take a breath, right? And our shop is fun. I mean, we're full of fun sorts of arts and things like that. And I kind of knew when we opened the Brandon shop, one of our first customers through the door came in, and I had spoken with her on the phone prior to her appointment, and knew she was very anxious because she's been told that the only way her dog's nails were going to be done is by having her dog fully sedated. And they said, but you might try this place. It's called Lucky Puppy. So she called us, and she walked in the door. She didn't even get 2 steps in, and she stopped short, and she looked around. She's like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. And immediately you could see her anxiety kind of dissipate, and she became more relaxed, which is also one of our goals, to make our humans comfortable and our dogs as comfortable as we are able to. So I kind of knew that we were on the right track, because that was the biggest affirmation of, okay, it looks good coming in. People feel confident coming in. It's fun and whimsical and clean and bright, and all of those things I go into setting the mind at ease and helping them pave a pathway to a better process and a better service experience for their dog.
That's yes. I love everything. The way that you explain it is it that should tell everybody right there. It's like you guys just put so much care into everything from the moment they walk through the door. And I know that that was one of the things is like when we walk in and we see I like the art behind you is just so cute and so like welcoming, and the little sayings on the art, like you guys really have gone above and beyond to make sure that everybody, like the aesthetic is perfect, the experience is perfect. And I love that, like I know a lot of our clients, they're like, oh, do I get to be with them during the process? And it's like, yes, you have your own little space for you and your pet and the technician, and everything is done right in front of you. They're not taken to a separate room away from you. It's all right there. You get to see the experience, and it's nice for them to be there too and be with the pet and see the process. So,
Right. And we're finding that the pets do a little bit better when the owners are there. There are some owners that can't be there, that they're like, I'm just so anxious, it's not going to go well for either one. And we appreciate that, and we appreciate their honesty about saying, maybe this first one, maybe not, maybe. And I have some that have weighed back in later on, and they're like, okay, I got it now, and that's great. That's what we're all about, that kind of rehabilitation part, like taking this thing that's been such negative in their life and changing around to being not so negative. And we see the impact of that every day. We see the dogs that graduate from having to have 3 technicians to 2 technicians to 1 technician, where they're like, hi, I'm just here, where's the peanut butter? And it just makes your heart feel good when they're like that, because you know that they now understand what the expectation is, no surprises, it's all consistent, and they know what their experience is going to be like, and that's always on their timeline. And when they figure that out, you can pretty much see the dogs like relax, like, okay, I'm here for the peanut butter, I'll get on the table, and here we go. And I love it. It makes our heart soar every time we see that. And when they do that, their owners are also so comfortable, right? So the whole process is just designed to take that negative thing, turn it around, make it not such a negative thing. And the only variable is the dog gets to decide when and if that happens.
right. That's yeah, and I like it's so nice that like you mentioned, the dog decides when it happens. I know there's experiences where you guys like the first time maybe it doesn't cut you don't cut the nails. Maybe you just let the dog go through the experience and just have a moment and check everything out, and then we work our way towards it. We've had clients that have gone through many groomers and were very unsuccessful, and they came and they call us after they visit Lucky Puppy, and they're like, oh my gosh, that was the best experience I've ever had. And, and the nails are getting very long because they just were like, that's what it's going to be because I can't take them anywhere. And they go to you guys and they're like, oh my gosh, they got them to go through it. Nobody was stressed. And it really is a nice experience for everybody.
Yeah. And you bring up an interesting point. A lot of times they're coming in very stressed and concerned because their dog's nails have gotten long. There's no judgment from our team. We get it. Most of us have been in your shoes. And when you've tried and tried and tried, and you've been unsuccessful and your nails are long, it's another worry and another issue. We don't judge, we get it, but you're here now and we're going to make a difference, right? And you're right. Sometimes dogs come and visit and come back, but for the most part, we just work them through that process. However, each dog needs whatever they need. We figure that out as best as we're able, and hopefully put them on a much better track long term. And of course, we also file rather than trim. So the filing gives us the ability to kind of eliminate the risk of hitting there quick by when you clip a nail. And sometimes even using clippers, you're um, it the pressure from some of those clippers is hard, especially on some of the big dogs. So in our filing process, because we file layer by layer, and then when we see the quick, that's where we stop and then smooth out the rough edges around that nail. And the dog just realizes that when we first start handling the feet, what they have to get it used to is really the vibration of the tool, nothing else. And so, we'll see a dog that's very anxious until we start. And then it's funny, some of them, it's almost like a light bulb moment, because you'll see their little brains go, oh, is that all you're doing? And we'll be like, yeah, eat some more peanut butter, right? So it really is. It's a cool thing. But all of those little things go into making it the right thing or the possibility.
Yeah, and I know that's kind of the traumatizing part for pet owners is they want to do it themselves and they try and then next thing you know they cut the quick and it's bleeding and it's traumatic for everybody involved. And that's why we're like, no, 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 no need to stress. Just go to Lucky Puppy. Like, yeah.
Right, right. And we've all been there. I mean, I was that one. I had a dog that would just sooner eat me than let me touch her feet. And I'm like, all of the dogs in all of my life. And the best decision I made was respecting the fact that she and I couldn't collectively do it. And once I finally got over the fact that I couldn't do her nails, she was great. Somebody else could, but I couldn't. And that was okay.
Right. That's yep. And I know I have several puppies of my own and one of mine she's 17 and she is still at the point where she will not let me do it. And
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, lucky puppy it is. That's fine.
Great,
Yeah.
great. We just have to figure out that path for that dog, and it's every dog is unique, and you just have to take those parts and figure it out so that it works for both of you. Because ultimately, if you're both content and happy and doing well, then the relationship is just that much greater.
I love that. In in marketing, a lot of our everybody's like, what's that target audience? But once you find all that, it is that relationship that you have with the customer that increases the customer lifetime value and the length and I know for people that might be interested in getting into grooming or it's like, pets pass and it's important to have those relationships with the customer so they know well, if you end up getting another pet in the future, we're still here, and having that repeat customer where they're like, no, these are the only people that will ever do any of my dog's nails. I know there's a lot of people that feel that way. So,
Yeah. Yeah, we do. We have a lot of clients that we're on their subsequent dogs, right? As I said, Debbie's been doing this for 20 some years. So she's seen many families grow through dogs, and it's so hard because we mourn the loss when a dog goes on to its next realm. We mourn that loss with those customers as well because we also are very connected to each and every being that comes through our door.
yeah, I that's a lot of I know for the Aussie mom pet sitting, that's one of our things. We have that relationship with our customers and we spend a lot of time with their pets and then when they pass, it's devastating for us too. You're
Yeah.
losing we say it's like nieces and nephews for us because we're like we have that relationship and then they pass and it's hard. And it's like, but all you can do is comfort and, just let them know like I'm here if you need anything and it's really important to the customers during that time. So,
Right, right. Yeah, we typically try to keep addresses on file so we can send a note and do things like that or reach out and let them know that we're thinking of them. So,
oh,
yeah.
that's
Uh,
great.
we love to do reels. You guys are really good about that too. Reels with all the guys when they're in. We'll do a collection of, all sorts of visits and especially when we have graduates, right? When we have dogs that have gone from like really, really struggling to all of a sudden they're all by themselves, one person. Those are celebration points for us, big time. So
Yeah, I know I see the social media posts and stuff you guys do, and it's everybody wants a behind the scenes. So it's so nice when you guys show, like, I know that you've done videos to show the process, and and you show the experience and everything, and you show the dogs that have graduated, or and they just come in and you can see the dogs like smiling, and it's like, see, this doesn't have to be stressful. Even the dogs are smiling. It's great.
yeah, and I think that was one of the things we did over here is a case study that we documented it through our social media streams with one dog in particular who his name is Jax, and he literally was a dog that had to be kind of pinned against a wall and sedated, like totally sedated for any type of handling. Well, I'm here to tell you Jax is doing well. He's been in our pack now for a little over a year, and we help with a number of things, but he is no longer muzzle triggered. He
Nice.
continues to wear a muzzle not because he needs one, but because it was such a trigger for him that we maintain that status quo. And that way, going forward, should he needs one, it doesn't cause him as much angst and anxiety as it has in the past. So there are some things that we learn to keep in a dog's repertoire for their own benefit. But Jax was a really good case study that we followed through, and actually we've had some really nice documentation of his kind of process, and he's one of our poster children because he's really come from one extreme to the other, and we're so proud of he and his family and the great um, just it really was a struggle, and he was worked through all of that thing, and now he's mastered it in a way that I don't think any of us truly, I mean, we knew he would improve, but he's improved so significantly. I mean, now he's like the favorite child. He comes in, pops on the table, dictates what he wants, and that's great. We do have a saying though, what happens at Lucky Puppy stays at Lucky Puppy. We're like Vegas.
Right. I love that. And that's so awesome that you've done that case study because you can show future customers who may be like, I don't know, I've never had my dog have a good experience and I just don't, see the value in going one more place. And it's like, no, look, here's a case study that we've done and we can show you the process. And, I know a lot of it's really hard sometimes, especially when pet owners it's their child a lot of times. And so it is hard to kind of convince them to just try one more time when they feel so defeated. So,
Right,
yeah, a case study would be a great way to show them, a story that they can relate to per se. So,
right, right. It is. It's super helpful.
so how do you go about fostering repeat business at the location? Do you guys have them book the next appointment before they leave, or do you do like email marketing to kind of retarget them once they've left?
We typically like to see them book an appointment once they leave. And we've played with this a number of ways. And sometimes people are reluctant. But what we've said is we think it would be best to see your dog at X point, right? Whether, let's just say 4 weeks. 4 weeks from now would be an ideal time to see your dog again. We can evaluate the growth rate of their nails and then make an even better decision about where we think a good increment would be for his nail care. And people sometimes were reluctant to book a second time, and we understood that. But what we would say is let us put an appointment on the calendar. It will also serve as a reminder because we all get busy, right? We get busy, and all of a sudden, one day you look down and those nails are as long as they were before. Your dog's walking on their nails, their feet are uncomfortable. So, if nothing else, use it as a reminder. And if you get to that point and you're like, okay, I need to maybe go a little longer, then just call us. We'll move your appointment out. Or I also, in reverse, will say, we're going to book it here because we think this is where you should be. Once we've established a client, it's much easier for us to know where their growth rate is. But that second appointment is a kind of a crucial one. So we're always like, let's book it here because I think this is where your dog needs to be. But if you start hearing those nails tapping on the floor before that, by all means call us and let's move it up because we don't want them walking on their nails. We don't want them to put pressure on their digits, which eventually will affect their elbows and their hips all of the rest of their joints. And especially with older dogs, it is a profound difference if you have a dog that goes from super long nails to nails that are now under control and off the floor. So we try to help them. Um, Give them a couple of parameters and get them on a kind of a routine, but we really do encourage that second appointment. And some people do have to cancel and change, and we get that, but at least they're thinking about it.
Awesome. Okay. And do you do any email marketing to follow up if they don't schedule?
We do text,
Okay.
text through. So we have a parameter within our CRM that allows us to send messages to clients that we haven't seen in a while. And we can set that time interval. So if we go through and we find that there's some that we haven't seen, we can send out actually we can do it by batch or individual. So it allows us to reach out and say, hey, haven't seen you in a while. Let us know if we can get you into schedule. And if they respond via text, we just schedule them via text and go on down. So we usually do it text, not too much email marketing. We're finding email marketing for us, I think we find out is best for global announcement events and things like that, but text tends to be the preferred methodology. It's usually how, unless there's someone specifically, I would venture to say that probably 95% of our correspondence is via text these days.
And
And so we really use that. We try to match. Like if a customer comes at us and wants a call, we'll call back. If we don't get them, we'll follow up with a text and say, hey, I missed you. What can we do? So we try to meet them where they are. If they come at us one stream, that's our initial response. If that doesn't work, we'll find another pathway. But the majority is usually text. People tend to find it faster, efficient, maybe even a little less invasive, and they can function and deal with those questions at their leisure or their own time. So our rule of thumb is pretty much to meet them meet, where they contact us, and then go from there.
I love the way you mentioned that, because that is, I know even when I spoke with Doug in our last episode, so much of reaching your customers is knowing where they are, where they see their content. If they prefer mobile, like you mentioned, like 95% they prefer mobile for the most part. If you know that and that's where you aim, that's perfect because you know that your customers prefer that method. And it's the same thing with social media. It's like, there's certain people that might be on LinkedIn, and then there's certain people who might be on Facebook, and it's all about knowing where your audience wants to be reached. So that is good. And I like that you use the automation for, if you haven't talked to them in a while, it sends a text to kind of send out a friendly reminder and reach out. So, I know AI and automation is huge now. Everybody, especially with how busy everyone is, if we can automate any processes, that's the way to do it. So.
Right, right. And they keep telling me I'm dabbling just a little bit in AI. Maybe you're using it more. Maybe we should have another sidebar about that. But and they're like, yeah, you'll be able to do this, and I'm sure we will. I just have to figure out how that works in my brain.
Right. And it is. It's very kind of why we do these videos is like Doug's in pet care and I know you guys are in the nail specializing niche, and it's everybody uses it differently. So a big part of running a business is figuring out how to use it for yourself and your customers. And nobody wants to use AI to make a picture that has two heads on a dog kind of thing, like we're trying to use it efficiently and effectively to make our lives easier, not make our customers, look at it and go, okay, so yeah.
Though we might get some attention if we do a two-headed dog.
Right. Yeah. I don't know what kind of customers would come from
I
that.
don't know. Might be interesting. That we've seen some dogs with some pretty malformed feet. So that was
Yeah.
another case study. So we've seen some interesting things. But I'll hold out on the two-headed dog.
Right. Yeah. So I guess kind of to kind of go into the end here, what lessons do you think that you've learned through managing your location and growing its presence? Like, what would you say has been like the biggest learning thing for you as far as marketing the brand and location?
Yeah, for me personally, I think it was perhaps more challenging building awareness than I anticipated it being. I was because we were established brand for so long in Lakeland, and we had a fairly decent client base coming over to the Tampa Bay area. There's still so many people that just aren't aware. So building that awareness and realizing that even though you have that client base, you still need to really, you need to visit with your rescues and your vets and your groomers in the area, and not just a one and done thing. We, like at Christmas time, I had cookies and goodie bags and things, and I went into all of those vets and said, hello, thank you, do you need more rack cards, and here's a bag of goodies, or here's a tray of cookies, or here is X, or are you ready to do that lunch and learn? So I also feel that even though you may have visited some of those partners in the industry that you work with, I think consistently doing that is important. And realizing that there's just so many people that they and we so here's a good case study. Here's a good example. So we're in a little plaza. There's a pizza shop on one side of us and a couple of dance studios. And we had a client in recently that said, I know when I think I had booked the appointment, and I always want to make sure they know where we are. She goes, well, I know exactly where you are. My kid goes to dance right next door. And I was like, okay. So when she came in, I talked to her a little more. She goes, yeah, I can't believe I didn't know you were here, because we go to dance on that side and we go to the pizza shop on this side. And I thought, ooh, missed marketing opportunity. So I promptly went out and ordered a big sandwich board with some really cute like logos, the chart, like sheets that I could change out, and put it out on the sidewalk. Because I'm like, if they're walking in front of my shop and they haven't picked up on it, and grant you, sometimes because we're so niche, you don't know you need us until you need us. So I get that. But in building awareness, it's really important to keep putting your name and your focus out there. And I think especially so doing it in a humorous way that grabs people's attention. Like one of my boards says, hey, your dog needs his nails trimmed and he wants some peanut butter. He's made the appointment. Please call for the details. Right?
I
So
love
that's
that.
on my sandwich board out front, because it's like, if we're going to do this, let's make people read it. And let's make it fun so it clicks in their brain. So we've been doing some of that kind of cheeky sort of stuff. And I think it's helpful because people, at least nothing else, they get a giggle, right? When they
Right.
walk by and read our board. And so now they know, building awareness. It's about building awareness.
Yeah, and it's awesome that you got that feedback from the customer and you took a second to think about what that meant and made changes accordingly. So much of the time we all just market, 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 and we don't take a second to just stop and be like, let me see what my customers think about what I'm doing. So a lot of times in marketing we are like, it's all about the ROI. How much am I spending? How much money am I getting in? But it's appealing to the customer and doing humorous things and making it, like you said, like memorable and kind of giving them a giggle so that they kind of remember like what you said or how you did it. And it's nice it's to stand out too, because you guys are a niche, but it's very, they're like, I can get my nails done anywhere. Why is this different? And it's like, you guys have personality. You guys, it's the dog schedule the appointment, and I love that. It's getting people to feel something when they see your advertisements and your marketing efforts. So,
Right, right. And it really is. I think you touched on something there that I think I want to call out, because that is getting that feedback from the customer. I'm really good, especially when new customers, about saying hello and so how did you find us, because I want to know how they found us, right? Many of ours either was referral by a friend or a neighbor, or by a like-minded business like a vet or a groomer, right? So I usually kind of keep little mental notes, like, and if it's a like-minded business, if it's a vet or groomer or some other pet-oriented business, and it's one that we are not aware of, I make sure to make note of that so that I can go and put a face with that. I'll walk into that shop. I'll take them some wrap cards. I'll make sure that they know that we exist. So I ask our customers that. And then the other thing I ask our customers or double check with them, a lot of times they'll give us the feedback is on our reminder system. Like, your reminder system works really well because they get a confirmation text 2 days prior that we ask them to confirm or let us know they need to reschedule. And so if they don't confirm, then we do follow-ups with them. But they also get just a little reminder 2 hours before their appointment. Like, hi, how are you? Okay, we can't wait to see you guys in 2 hours here at Lucky Puppy. And we weren't sure when we first did that how it was going to be received, but the vast majority of our clients are so thankful for that little prompt 2 hours before their appointment. They're like, I wish my doctor would do that because then I don't ever forget. So I think for us as business owners in this industry is to really have conversations with our customers and say, what is it that's working and what's not working? And if it's not working for you, we'll do our best to figure out what they need from us to make it work. But figuring out where you're getting your referrals from and what's working for the client is what endears you to the client and therefore helps you help them spread the word. Because when they're happy, they're going to talk about you. And when they're happy, they're going to talk about you. So pick the first, not the
Yeah.
second.
Correct. Yeah, it's like it's very important to remember, like I love that you're like I always make sure to ask how did you hear about us? So many times it's such an easy thing to just ask and people forget to do it. And it's like the knowing what's working and what's not is a lot of, you don't want to just we talk about like you don't want to throw a bunch of noodles at the wall and see what sticks. It's like if you can tell what works and your customers can tell you what they prefer to see, that's free feedback. Like take it and just, knowing what that means and how to change. And then, so you've given me a lot of great feedback today and, stuff. And what would you say if somebody's starting out in the pet industry and they're wanting to carve out that unique niche and, maybe take on a leadership role and own a business? What would you say is like the one thing that you would tell them to start doing immediately when they start?
I would go looking for existing businesses that you can pair up with because the referral from people within your industry when you're trying to build a business. You'll get the referral from the customers, but you got to get the customers first, right? So if you want the customer base, start with the like-minded businesses that you can develop a relationship and provide them with the tools, be it rack cards, whatever, bumper stickers, I don't know, it depends, for them to facilitate the referral to you. Like, what do you need? Do you need more? Do you need less? Does this work? What do you need? And I think that probably, especially in a niche business in the pet industry, I think that the strongest referral besides a customer you can get is from another pet professional.
I agree with that 100%. I know both Positive Results and Awesome on Pet Sitting. It's when we started a decade ago with the pet sitting business, we went out and we met all the pet stores, we met the veterinarians. It's so important in our industry to go network and go let people know about you. And they're already in the pet industry. They already have pet owners in their clientele. It makes sense to go just reach out and let them know that you're here and tell them what you do. And your lunch and learns, I love that because you're showing them what you do. You're not just telling them.
Right. We're happy to show people what we do. I mean, we do this because we're passionate about changing it for a dog. So it's not, I mean, granted, there's a lot of proprietary stuff. You can't, most of our equipment you can't go out and buy. We build it, make it, design it ourselves. So that being said, we want to share this because we think that it is so impactful for so many dogs. So we are more than happy. If you want our groomer and you want to come and see, bring your dog. I'll show you. Bring your dog. We'll do the nails. You can understand just as a customer what it looks like. And if you want to break it down as a groomer, we'll break it down for you too. Because we really feel like if we help each other,
Yep.
we will all be better, right? And that's ultimately what it's about. But if you can view these other pet professionals not as competition, even though, and I'll get pushback. I'll go into some of the grooming shops and they're like, well, we do nails. And I'm like, I know you do, and you guys probably do a great job. But you know those dogs that want to eat you that you really, really struggle with and you'd rather not do? Those are the ones that we would like to help you with. And then they're like,
Right.
oh, okay. So put yourself in their shoes and figure out from those other businesses where their weak spot is. Like, what is it that they're struggling with? And if you can fill that for them, they will refer you hands down every time. Especially if they get feedback from their clients, like, "Oh, thanks for referring me. It was great. I got my dog's nails named." That is a big testament. So figure out what they're struggling in and fix it for them.
Yep. And I love how you talked about like what they're struggling with. That's they have all these different acronyms that they have, like the AIDA model and stuff in marketing. And it's, but the priority is finding that need, finding the pain point, and figuring out what your solution is, and then showing them why your solution is the best option.
Right.
So yeah, I thank you so much for everything today and for your time. And I'm gonna put under the video, I'll have everything so that people can check out Lucky Puppy, both locations, and I'll have to make some time and we'll come see you. That'd be great.
Yeah, come over. We'll have lunch at the bakery or something and check out the shop. It's certainly smaller scale than Lakeland, but it's still pretty cool.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, and it was great talking to you.
Yeah, thanks.